Hi everyone and welcome back. Moving house is one of the top 3 most stressful life events, along with divorce and the death of a loved one. Doing it with 5 greyhounds in tow adds a whole new level of complexity, as I've been finding out over the last few months. I've been living in Birmingham, the second biggest city in the UK, for 24 years now. It's not really my cup of tea. I'm not a big city person. The things that everyone gets excited about in a city are not things that interest me. Instead, I struggle with the traffic, I struggle with the fumes, which upsets my asthma, and all the issues that arise from just having so many people in a small space all living crowded together. And I'd love to have a little bit of fresh air and the option to see the stars at night. I moved up here for work, and up until now, work in one sort or another has stopped me from moving away. However, back in January, I realised that my stars had aligned, and in actual fact, moving was now an option. I knew it was going to be complicated, and I'd waited so long that I wasted no time in finding an estate agent and getting the house on the market. And that is where the Greyhound complications began. I can't remember the last time I had a non-doggy person in the house, and now I needed to have an estate agent come round and visit. I had to figure out how to show them the house without getting mugged by Gandalf, growled at by Jim, or otherwise made to feel really quite unwelcome. And in the end, I had to do a lot of juggling with dogs in different rooms, praying that Floppy wouldn't pee on anything while I was upstairs with the estate agent, and then having him on a lead in the kitchen with me while we discussed the small print of the deal. When it came to taking the photographs, I said at the start that I'd need to have the photographer come over 2 visits, because I just could not figure out how I was going to make the house suitable for all of it to be photographed at once. I had a mountain of doggy stuff to move, plus the dogs themselves to supervise while the photographer was here. So I ended up having to make a big pile of crates and bedding out the front or out the back, depending on where they were going to be, so that I could make the house presentable. And then we all sat in the kitchen while the photographer did the front of the house and upstairs, and the next time he did the kitchen and the back of the house. And I was super lucky with the weather, because of course it could have been really wet with all my stuff out in the garden. But considering how we've had such a dreadful wet spring, we were lucky that we had 2 decent days for those photographs to be taken. Where are you off to, Floppy? You're trouble, you are. The next hurdle, of course, was having the viewings. I said up front to the agents that we would need to conduct the viewings in little groups, batches of viewings, and that they would need to be the one showing people round, because it was taking so much work to make the house presentable. And of course, if I had the viewings individually, I would have to do that repeated numbers of times. Now, I didn't really expect to have a huge amount of interest. The last time I put the house on the market, it hadn't gone terribly well. However, within 10 days, I had 5 viewings lined up and another little batch planned for the next weekend. So luckily, the editor was able to be here, and we, with a very early start, got the dogs sorted, got the house sorted, and then some of the dogs went to stay in my friend's van for the morning, whilst the editor and Gandalf and Floppy and I went for a trip out to a local reservoir, and we sat and had a coffee and had a little walk whilst the agent did the viewings. So I had to do that over 2 Saturdays and also 2 Fridays, because one couple couldn't come on the Saturdays. For those, we hid out in the garden, because I said I just cannot leave the house again. It's just too much to organise. So we sat in the garden with the 5 dogs while the people were looking around the house. And of course, when they came to look at the garden, Floppy had to go and say hello and went bouncing down to see them.
Oh, you, what is it? What is it, Mr. H.A.? What is it? Oh, hoo, hoo. Ooh, hoo, hoo.
But hey, they were doggy people. They didn't mind, so we got away with it. And after doing this for all these times, so 6 in total for the photographs and the viewings, I was pleased to say I'd got it down to a fine art, although I was completely exhausted. But within 2 weeks, we'd had 12 viewings and accepted an offer. So I could not believe it. We were actually going to move. Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out?